If psychology and pop culture had a baby, they'd call it Shrink Tank.
A new paper reveals more intelligent people are quicker to learn and unlearn.
90% chance that there's some weird animal out there. Yeah.
Stern's been doing this forever and far more extreme.
From Nashville and Charlotte, this is the Shrink Tank Podcast. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dave Verhagen in Nashville, and we've got a great show for you. Our trending topic today is my first time. We'll get to that in our second segment, but first, let's meet our Charlotte panel. Dr. Emma Kate Wright is here, and Emma Kate, last week you told us that you passed your national exam and you are one click away from being unleashed on the world as a licensed psychologist. How does that feel?
That feels amazing. Yes, I've been studying since October for that exam, and so now I have all this free time, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get back into hobbies because, grad school happened and then other milestones and whatnot, so it's just nice to finally have some free time.
So give me one thing that you'd like to do that you haven't been able to do, like a movie you've been wanting to see or a concert or a TV series that you want to binge or something.
I actually don't want to do anything media related. I want to get back into the arts, whether it's singing or painting or drawing. I used to do a lot of that, so I'm looking forward to dabbling in those areas.
Dabbling in the arts.
Yes.
Wonderful. And Frank, how about you? Anything that you haven't had time to do that you want to do?
Well, I'm doing a thing I haven't done in a while, and it was based on your recommendation. I'm listening to the audiobook of Fire and Fury.
And what do you think so far?
It's the craziest thing I have ever heard.
It's true.
I just can't stop listening to it, but every other sentence is jaw-dropping.
It's true.
Jaw-dropping. And it just doesn't seem real.
No, it doesn't. And even last week when Trump said that he was going to have a military parade, right?
Yeah.
That is so crazy. It's just part of this, it feels like it's a made up show.
Yeah.
This whole thing feels like a reality show that's made up.
Yeah, he's just trying to get ratings for his particular audience. But golly, man, I'll give just one little anecdote. For the first time, I've encountered a white nationalist.
Sure,
And
first time.
he and I were talking about it, and I'm just trying to figure it out. And so what I did is I took the CIA speech that Trump gave right when he started, and I just played the last 5 minutes for him. And if you haven't listened to it, you really should. It's one of the craziest speeches maybe ever.
And it's great to listen to another guy read it rather than just you reading it.
It's better not hearing his words.
Right. It's better to hear it just read as it is the transcript.
Right. So I'm sitting there playing it, and he said, oh, yeah, I know about that speech. All the audio was cut up and put together. That's fake. And I took my phone, and I showed it to him and showed Trump was saying these words, and he went, are you serious? And to see his reality shaken like that was amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah, that is a crazy thing. And it's okay to read the book, but if you can, get the audio book.
Way better.
The reader's great, but also it just, man, you're just driving around going, oh my gosh.
I know.
This is like real life. It's one of the craziest things. Hey, Jonathan Hederley's also here. He's our certified Asian who rounds out the panel. And Jonathan, anything that you have wanted to get to lately or have gotten back into?
No, there's been a lot of new television shows that I just need to kind of sit down and actually spend some time getting into. It's very easy for me to watch the first 30 minutes of a show and then decide right then and there if I want to commit or not. But when everyone says that a show is really good, I kind of need to plow through versus always looking for something else to watch. Like The Crown would be a show that I've heard nothing but great things about, but I haven't watched. I think Amazon, there's Electric Dreams, and I haven't checked any of that out yet. So, and then I don't know why, David, this is different this year than in years past, but I haven't seen a lot of the Oscar pedigree films yet. I just haven't got around to them. And every time I have a the ability to go out and watch a movie, I talk myself out of it for some reason. So,
Well, speaking of The Crown, going back to that for a second, I will totally recommend that for you. If you haven't seen that, if you're listening and haven't seen, that is a great show. I watched it really because my wife wanted to watch it, and I thought I'll go along with it. I like historical stuff, okay, but I didn't think, because, for example, like The King's Speech as a movie, I thought that's a fine movie, but wasn't as good as The Social Network that year and that kind of thing. But The Crown is a great show. It's thoroughly great. There was an episode I saw a few weeks ago where and I won't give too much away, but basically you find out that King Edward, who had abdicated the throne before Queen Elizabeth's father assumed the throne, that King Edward was a Nazi sympathizer. And it was again, a jaw-dropping thing. It was pretty amazing. Back to the movie thing that you said, Jonathan, we need to, on the podcast, maybe next week or soon, we need to have a 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri debate.
okay.
So
Definitely. Yep.
I want in on that.
you hated it. Frank hated it. I won't say I loved it, but I liked it. I thought it was good. So you guys, Jonathan, you thought it was a terrible movie, a bad movie.
Yep.
So we'll debate it coming up. But each week, Jonathan trolls the internet for us, and he finds a great story of psychology in the news in our first segment that we call
Being Human.
So, previous research has found that those who are good looking are generally treated better, achieve higher social status, and earn more money, leading them to see the world as a just and fair place. Now, an American study published in the Journal of Public Economics has concluded that the attractiveness, did I say that right?
Nope, but keep going.
The attractiveness of a person can correlate with their political beliefs. The study published wrote, controlling for socioeconomic status, we found that more attractive individuals are more likely to report higher levels of political efficacy, identify as conservatives, and identify as Republican. They attribute the trend to the halo effect, a form of cognitive bias by which specific positive traits influence a person's view of other people. So, Frank, as our resident not good-looking person, what do you make of this study?
Well, it might explain why I'm more of a libertarian, but I got a few things to say about this. The first thing, this article's from The Guardian. And if our audience gets a chance just to Google hunky Tory ? The Guardian, the photo that they use for this article, I'm going to offend everybody in England, but it just looks like a typical scary snaggletooth man. I'm thinking, what, that's attractive? Like, I that was just bizarre to me. I thought it was a joke. But the second thing is, I was actually thinking about this, and this is probably going to reflect badly on me. But I was at a stoplight, and all of these ultra expensive Mercedes-Benz trucks, they're like $250,000 sport utility vehicles.
What do you drive, Frank?
Right. What is it,
What
Lord
do you drive?
Vader license
It's
plate?
not as expensive as you might think.
But it's a Mercedes.
Okay,
so-
whatever. I'm ugly. But the point being, I see these $250,000 cars, 2 of them, and I'm thinking, man, and it's also an ugly car, but both of them were driven by women who looked to be maybe 27, maybe 28, and they look like models. And I'm like, how does that happen? And so I started paying attention when I drive my kids to school, that these attractive people are all driving expensive cars. And then I'm like, okay, that makes sense, that attractive people probably have it easier in life. They're not exposed to poverty or as much stress. And so they have this happy view of the world. And they don't think, oh, yeah, we need to help out the poor people, because they don't ever see them.
Right. So you can't be poor and attractive is what you're saying.
No, you can. And the article says it's not either or and it's not extreme. But if you're born attractive, it gives you a push toward conservatism. But the other funny thing about this story, they looked at data in terms of attractiveness from 1972, 1974, and 1976. I don't know that there were any attractive people back then. I mean, I'm just saying.
That was known as the ugly age.
I question the study's
Yeah.
fundamentals.
No, I was actually going to comment on that too. I wonder if there would be any difference in findings if they were to do the research on more current data.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
You've got plastic surgery.
Mhm.
You've got all these people working out. You've got your hair looking all nice. I bet it would be a big difference.
So, Jonathan, you said that it was controlled for socioeconomic status.
Yes.
Okay, because that would be part of my question. Is like, all right, if someone's better looking, and then they, like they're in a different social class where they're more inclined to want to protect their goodies, and they'd be more. I mean, but you're saying it's not necessarily related to that.
Yeah, they tried as best as they could to factor out the economic status and look specifically at their attractiveness and their political beliefs.
So, Frank, let me just make sure I'm understanding, because I'm trying to understand this for real. You're saying that because if someone's better looking, people respond to them better.
Yes.
And then they have easier access to things and easier way in life.
Yes.
And so they don't have kind of the life exposure of like, some of the difficulties that might make someone more empathetic toward poor people or people in need, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you remember what Ted Kennedy looked like, right? I mean, let's be real here.
But I also remember what Steve Bannon looked like.
Well, but I don't think he has a political affiliation.
You don't think he's an attractive man there, Daver?
He's a looker. Emma Kate, how about you? Do you have an opinion?
Well, I feel like it's making a lot of generalizations, and I don't know. I guess if they did control for it, I would like to look more at the stats of it, truthfully, because I don't know. Attractiveness is kind of the subjective thing anyway. Like, how were they rating attractiveness? Was it the symmetry of your face? Was it being within a healthy weight range? Was it having a lot of money? Because, you can be attracted to someone because, oh, they like me back, or you can be, matching theory about being with somebody of a similar level of attractiveness. And so I guess I'm just curious about how they looked at that piece.
Sure. I think that's a valid question. I think, though, there is a lot of research that points to certain type of physical traits. People tend to get more favorable outcomes, whether it be personality driven. More outgoing people tend to be looked at as better leaders, or taller people versus shorter people. So to me, it wouldn't be a surprise if those that are subjectively viewed as attractive looking would have it easier in life, how people respond to them and how opportunities are presented to them, and how they may have a little bit of a halo effect to where it's hard for them to empathize or to see how life can be hard for other people that might translate into their political affiliation.
So when I was an undergrad, my senior year, I did an honors thesis, which is a year-long paper that you have to research and do your own like data collection and study and all that kind of stuff. And it was on what traits people ascribed to people based on their attractiveness. And so I had access to yearbook photos from, like for a couple of decades. And we went through and just had dozens of them, and then had people rate them in terms of facial attractiveness, girls, guys, all college age. And then the ones that were consistently rated as better looking were in one category. The ones that were consistently rated as average were in a second category, and then below average were a third. And then we just had people look at those pictures and then have a little checklist of different personality traits, everything from friendly to even intelligent. And in that case, the study said that the more attractive people were across the board assigned more positive traits. Even intelligence, even you name it, people would, if they were guessing or what would they speculate about that person, they would say they're friendlier, they're nicer, they're smarter, that kind of stuff. So definitely we tend to do that with more attractive people for sure.
Well, and like my wife does not have a big head about this because she was pretty hideous as a kid. But when she grew up, she became the prom queen and she was a model and all of that stuff, right? So she doesn't have all that garbage. But daggone it, every time we would go on a flight, she'd look at me and say, just stay here and don't look at me. I'm like, okay, I know I'm hideous, thanks. And then she walks up to the gate, mumbles something. We were first class, upgraded first class every time. It's crazy. I'm like, it's just because you're pretty.
So did marrying her make you feel better about yourself, Frank?
No, just kind of surprised.
That makes
everybody.
That makes everybody.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Trump winning the presidency.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like, wow, that actually really happened. Huh, how about that? No. All right. Well, let's shift gears and talk about our trending topic today in honor of Valentine's Day. We're going to talk about my first time. And it's not exactly what you think. We're not going to talk about our first time. We're going to talk about the first time we did something that's a little bit embarrassing or weird or something like that. So who wants to go first? Who's got a good one?
I'll probably need to start because I feel like Frank and Jonathan are going to have something ridiculous. So I've had to think really hard about this because there are quite a few embarrassing stories that I could share, but it's just like, I don't want to put that out there because I get roasted in a lot of other ways. So the thing that I thought about was my first real date, actually.
Which cousin was that?
No, I was in ninth grade, and there was a boy from my science class who, we finally got the courage to go on a date, and we went to Wendy's, so it was really awesome. But I was so nervous about how my stepdad was going to react to this guy coming to the house to pick me up, because I guess I told them, I can't quite remember, but I told him to honk when he got to the house, and then I would come outside, and needless to say, that really did not go over very well with my stepdad. And so, this guy shows up, he's like honking, and my stepdad's like, who is that? I was like, oh, that's my date. He's like, he's honking at you? Oh no. And so he, goes out to the car, tells my date to reverse, go down the street, come back, and try again. Otherwise, the shotgun in the hall closet was going to be accessible.
That's good.
So
I like it.
It was really embarrassing. And then, yeah, that never happened again, obviously.
Right.
So lesson learned.
All right. Who's up next?
I will go. This is Myrtle Beach at the Cloverleaf Motel, and I met a girl named Rachel. We were in the 5th grade, maybe 6th, and we hung out. It was my first date, and my parents let her go with us to the putt-putt and hang out. And the last day, I was writing down her phone number, and I walked her back to her room to where her parents were. And you had to step up a little bit, like there were these cinder block steps. And she was standing in the doorway, and I just went for a kiss and missed and kissed her jawbone and said, okay, bye. And I ran around the back of the hotel and then spit 20 times.
You spit 20 times?
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
I don't know. I was freaked out. I was like, oh, that's germs. And it just
Kitties.
spit.
Because you
Ooh,
kissed her jaw?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That germy jaw.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Because
So,
the
yeah.
jaw has so many more germs than lips.
Well, I don't know. It was just skeeved me out.
Excuse me.
So you got skeeved out.
Skeeved out.
Jonathan, got a good one?
Oh, well, where do I begin? I mean, I could talk about the...
Do you have more than one?
Oh, I have a million first time. I mean, I could talk about...
Give us a good one to start, and we'll circle back around to you in a second.
Okay. The first time I got drunk would be in the 6th grade. My brother was visiting. Most of my youthful misadventures involved my older brother. And we had my parents were divorced at that time, and we had a bottle of tequila that was left over from my dad. My mom didn't drink. My brother and I decide, let's try this out, but it smells nasty. I bet it tastes nasty. Let's mix it in with a gallon of red Kool-Aid. So we pour a half a bottle of tequila in with like a full pitcher of red fruit punch Kool-Aid. And then I remember waking up because apparently I had blacked out or passed out. I wake up on my bed and there is a red outline of like vomit, almost like a comic book, like, where they speak. And so I get up and I'm like, what happened? And my brother proceeds to tell me that apparently I called up this girl from my sixth grade class, and I was talking very dirty and inappropriate to her over the phone. And what ended up happening is that she started liking me after that.
Oh, no.
She wanted some of that.
Yeah.
That sounds very attractive to her. That's a good one. I like the vomit blast behind you.
Yeah.
The outline. My story is kind of like pitiful and sweet and pitiful. Okay, so I went to a private school for middle and high school, a private Christian school, and we never had dances because,
Footloose.
Because
Right.
sex could lead to dancing.
Dancing.
because sex
Sinning.
leads to dancing, and
Right.
we don't want that to happen.
Right.
So we never had dances. They would call them like junior, senior banquets. And then, even the word banquet is a horrible
They
name.
were probably called Jesus sways.
So when I go to college, I'm in college, and there are these girls that we know that have their semi-formals for their sororities and all that kind of stuff. And so I get invited to this semi-formal, and then because I have no idea like what this means, right? I have no context to understand it. And then I start asking people like, what happens is semi-formal? And they're like, oh, well, people hang out and they drink and they dance and stuff. And I'm like, oh, and I thought, like,
The Lord would not approve.
Wow.
I'm 18 or 19. I've never danced before in my life, ever. So for 3 days before my first dance, I would go to my room when my roommate wasn't there, and I'd play music and practice dancing just so that I wouldn't geek out or look too geeky.
Did it work?
No.
Of course not. Of course not.
Oh.
That's so sweet and sad.
That's
Exactly
so
as you
sad.
described.
I told you it's pitiful and it's sweet and it's pitiful.
That's like the uninspiring Footloose film, right?
It's right, yeah, where you see a guy in his room trying to practice dancing. By the way, when you get there, you realize nobody knows how to dance, right? There's I thought people knew how to dance. Like it was like a thing, like, you know what I mean? Like they knew how to do steps or things.
They had the
Nobody,
polka.
they just go there and they just sort of,
It's not
move
like all
around
those
and-
80s high school movies where they all choreograph
Right.
and they're doing
Right.
line dancing
Right.
together.
I know. Well, my daughter actually went to a school of the arts for high school, and that literally was her high school experience. Like in the lunchroom, people would get up on the tables during lunch and do dance moves, and they play music, and it was like fame. It really was.
Wow.
That sounds like Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. Like get up on the tables. And
It
start
was a little
dancing.
roadhousey, but anyway, so it was fine. I didn't embarrass myself, but when I think about it, it's like, it makes me cringe because I'm like, oh, pitiful pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
Oh, pumpkin. So anybody else have another good one? My first time.
Oh, I'll give you one more. So I was, I believe, a freshman in college, and it was like, okay, rush, you're going to be part of a fraternity, right? And I picked this fraternity, and I had a big brother, and they said, you're going to be our bartender for our alumni party. Okay, now I was 18, drinking age 21. I'm thinking that doesn't sound right, but okay. And they had this party, and there are all these adults, and I'm just this little dorky freshman. And I said, I don't know how to make drinks. I don't drink. I don't know what to do. But I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to please them. So they said, well, you're just going to make Long Island iced teas. I said, okay, what's that? So they showed me sort of the formula of how to make one. And I wrote it down on a napkin, and I said, okay, I'm going to make every one just like that one. But to be sure, I tasted each one I made throughout the entire night. By the end of the evening, the big brother says, "Hey, Frank, here's a mop. Clean up the kitchen." And I couldn't mop. I couldn't move it. I didn't know what I was doing. And then he got flustered and said, "All right, here's the deal. Hold that wall up over there." And I said, "I can do that." And I went over and I held the wall up. Somehow I managed back to the dorm. My roommate gave me 2 Tylenol and a glass of water. Next morning I woke up, walked straight to the fraternity and said, "I'm really sorry, but yeah, I'm not going to do this. I may never have a job. So thank you," and left.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Jonathan, you got another good one?
Well, like I said, most of them occur when I'm visiting or my brother's around, or even before my parents got divorced. You know, 2nd or 3rd grade, you start smoking your grandfather's cigarettes, you know, smoke a pack a day, Marlboro Unfiltered or things like that. My brother and I would steal from local grocery stores candy and stuff. He actually ended up getting caught one day. But when my dad and brother moved to Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, and I'm not going to talk about the first time I walked in on my dad and his girlfriend, you know, doing the thing in the middle of the living room.
Oh, boy.
I won't talk about that one. You know, there's not much suspense. We know what happened. But I visit my brother over the summer before my 6th grade year, Eugene, Oregon. So I'm a rising 6th grader. My brother's a rising 8th grader. So you're 11-year-old and a 13-year-old. And my brother says, "Let's go hang out with some of my friends." I said, "Okay." And so we go to this house, and these adults are there, and the adults don't have a kid that's my brother's friend. These adults are my brother's friends. It's this couple that are in their 20s. So you have a rising 8th grader who's got adults that are good friends, and this was the only time I've ever smoked marijuana, you know, right before 6th grade. But that's really not the weird part about it, although it's the first and only time. What was weird was the guy was like 6'5". The lady was about, I don't know what her height was, but she was about 450 pounds. She was bedridden on a pull-out sofa bed. That's where she laid all day. So I'm smoking marijuana with these people as a rising 6th grader, and they have over 100 cats.
Oh.
They have over 100 cats, and in their downstairs bathroom, they've turned the bathtub into a kitty litter.
Oh, no.
So a lot of confusing smells.
And so that, I mean, if that alone, like seeing that's like, don't do drugs. This is what happens to you.
What a nightmare.
But
Yeah,
but
no.
that's just sort of kind of like what I was exposed to growing up, and you know,
You were Lord of the Flies, dude.
yeah, I was just kind of thrown out there with the wolves and fend for yourself. And there's a lot of luck about why things didn't turn out worse for me.
No kidding. Wow. You got some good ones. All right. Well, let's wrap this up with our doctor's orders. These are things that we're personally enjoying in pop culture. And Imicate, I know that you don't have anything because you've been studying nonstop for months and months. So I don't want people to think that I'm just not talking to you.
Yeah, I've had no life, and people like hear that, but then really.
Yeah, really no life.
Really, I have no life.
It's
so
really, truly no
it's
life.
true.
But now you're going to have a life. So you're going to have
Yes.
doctor's orders moving
is right.
forward. That is a must. All right, Frank, do you have anything for us?
I do. I started a new TV show last night called The Alienist. It's on Hulu, and it's not sort of the typical thing I would watch because when you're talking Victorian England and all that stuff, I just go straight to sleep. It is good. It is really good.
How many episodes are you in?
2.
Okay, because I bailed after the first one. I was really looking forward to it, and it disappointed me. So I want to hear, because I'm willing to watch it if you get through it and you think it's worth it. But I bailed after the first.
It pulled me in the beginning just because the guy was sent to a murder scene to basically take a picture, but we don't have cameras, so he had to draw the murder scene.
Right.
That's cool.
And that whole sequence where they're up on a bridge that's being constructed, and it visually, like they sunk a ton of money into this show.
Yeah. That was the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. All right, Jonathan.
Well, I want to give a shout out to a podcast that I've been getting back into recently. It's called The Hilarious World of Depression. And it is a podcast that it's a show simply about clinical depression with laughs. The key is that the host, humorist and public radio host John Moe, he interviews celebrities and they talk about their own experience with depression. So whether it's author John Green, musician Amy Mann, whether it's Andy Richter, sidekick of Conan O'Brien, or Dick Cavett, like they'll get very up close and personal about their own struggles with mental health and how they've either managed it, overcome it, or how it's impacted their life. I especially want to recommend the episode this past November where he talked with my favorite musician, Jeff Tweedy, the lead singer-songwriter of the band Wilco. He talks about his anxiety and panic attacks growing up, going to rehab. And so I highly recommend. It's called The Hilarious World of Depression.
It sounds great. I want to check it out. This weekend, Black Panther's hitting movie theaters, and it's got one of the highest Rotten Tomatoes scores of any movie in history. And it looks fantastic. The soundtrack looks great. The cast is all star. The reviews say that this is a cut above. It'll be among the best superhero movies of all time. But I have not seen it. So what I want to recommend are the graphic novels that preceded it. So there were graphic novels or comic books back in the 60s with Black Panther and 70s. But the guy, Ta-Nehisi Coates, who wrote the National Book of the Year last year before, he is the author of a series. And I think they have book number 12 out. I think that's how many they've had. But if you could read the first two of the series, it's the title is A Nation Under Our Feet, and it'll kind of immerse you in the world of Black Panther, introduce you to the characters, and definitely worth checking out. So A Nation Under Our Feet, Black Panther graphic novel. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Shrink Tank podcast. We hope you'll check out Shrink Tank for great articles and videos, including some things that we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks. We hope you'll follow us on Twitter at @shrink_tank. And like us on Facebook. Our producer and music composer is Sean Beck. For Emma Kate Wright, Jonathan Hedderly, and Frank Gaskell in Charlotte, I'm Dave Verhagen in Nashville. Tell all your friends about us and make it a great week.
Shrink Tank.